May the 4th be with you. And we are pulling anchor from our anchorage here in Merritt Island. And we're going to Cocoa Village Marina this morning.
Happy Cinco de Mayo! We are in Cocoa Village Marina and having a blast on this Cinco de Mayo. We're staying on our own boat. Thanks, Corona!
So I'm going to make new hatch covers for all of the port lights. The plan is to use white umbrella fabric. I'm going to use the bug screens from the inside of the window as a template. So the cutting on these edges isn't critical. It's going to be folded over. There's my cutout. It has about a 1/4 inch seam all the way around it. So the pieces I just cut out will fit over the top. And now what we're going to do is make some pieces that will sew onto these corners that will grip around the corner of the hatch. The little pieces that are going to go around the edge, and they need to be 4.5 inches by 6 inches. And we'll cut these out. So this is the aft cabin on latitude adjustment. It's mostly set up for storage. You've seen that on a previous video. But today I have it set up with my sewing machine here, and this will just be the place that we're going to work. So the key to making these parts is I'm going to hem over both edges of these 6" by 4" pieces. Fold the hem. We'll set it under the presser foot, and I have the machine set up for just a straight stitch, no zigzag, and a fairly long stitch. And all I'm going to do is hold this seam and I'm going to take it right to the end of the fabric, and then I'm going to get the next one ready. So I'm going to hold this one, feed it right in next to the one before it. So what happens here is, as I sew each one, they're all connected, and then we'll end up cutting them later. Okay, now we're back to the beginning, and I'm looking at the original seam. Looks okay, not great. I don't think my tension was correct right at the beginning. But I'm going to go ahead and separate all the pieces, and I'm going to inspect each one to make sure that the seam on each side is correct. So I end up with a piece that's a little bit like maybe 5.5 inches long, but the critical length is this 4.5 this way. So we'll cut each one of these apart. Inspect the seam on each one. The next step is on these big panels. We're going to be wrapping these things around the corner. So we need to know exactly where the center of these corners are. So what I'm going to do is fold these things like a handkerchief to get the corner. And then I'm going to use the scissors and just cut a little triangle out of the corner. And what that's going to end up doing is give me a spot in the corner of the fabric that I can align the little square pieces to. Alright, now we're to the little square pieces. We need to do the same thing. We need to mark the centers so that we'll be able to line them up to the panel. So I find the best way to do this is just to fold them in half, fold them in half again, so I end up with a little square piece, and I do the same thing. Cut the little triangle off, and then what I end up with is a little notch here and a little notch there, that when we try to sew this, we can put the notches together, and we can put the notch together here, so we get all three pieces, and we'll start sewing from right there out to the edge and then to the other edge. So this is what we have so far. So we've stitched from here to the corner, right down the pencil line, and now we're going to stitch over it again, and then we're going to continue all the way up this way, pulling these two together as we go. Let me get the camera set back up here again. Okay, we'll drop the presser foot. The first part's pretty easy because we've already sewed it once. Okay, so now we're getting to the part we haven't sewn yet. So I'm going to start pulling these pieces back together. 2 or 3 stitches. Always try to stop it with the needle down. Tweak it a little bit more. Tweak it a little bit more. Tweak it a little bit more. We should be able to run to the end. And then we'll clip our strings. Okay. So now what we ended up with is, this is a little tab here, sewn to the top, and you can see the top has made a curve in it. So when we turn this right side out, we end up with a nice corner, and that corner is going to go over the corner of the hatch. And then we're going to do one more seam around to seal all of this, but we'll get to that in a minute. So let's sew all these other pieces on, and we'll speed this up a little bit. Okay, so that's all the little tabs sewn on both panels. Now we need to close out the big seam. For the next phase, we're going to go around and hem this seam down all the way around. Yeah, we'll try to start at the corner and then do the straight lines. So I'm going to just pull, we're going to pull this under part tight all the way around so that we get a nice little shelf on the inside, and that's what we're going to stitch on. We're going to put that right up against the presser foot, and I'm going to constantly pull as I go around this corner because I don't want to lose any of the slack on these corners. So let's see if we can give this a go. And then as we come off of the corner, we're going to just fold down this seam, try to keep the pencil line. I don't think it's that critical, but we'll just hold it. So here's the hatch cover. It's going to go on top here, and the corners get locked around the corners of the hatches. And to do that, we use this string. All right, so this is it. So the corners lock down like this. This string goes on the inside. It locks in, just locks over the corners. Just locks over the corner. I left the string a little bit long, so as the top stretches, I can tighten it a little bit more. But that should be good. And on the top, this is how the tops look. That corner's a little puckered, but it'll get better. And that's it. It's umbrella covers.